stay safe, but find out and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She's the author of the book Navigating Grief and Divorce, no other than Miss Lisa Rites. Welcome,
Hi.
welcome, Miss. Yes, welcome, Miss Lisa on Abstract Essay. Can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Sure. My name is Lisa Rites. I am a certified grief educator and the author of Navigating Grief and Divorce, which is a book about my journey through grief and my personal experience with divorce and keeping the family bond strong and just talking about my journey and how I was able to get through it.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Thank you. You've written that becoming a single mom for young children was a scary thought. If you were not sure you would succeed, take us back to the moment, the earliest days when the fear was fresh.
Sure. It actually it probably didn't come immediately. When my I first found out my husband and I were going to be separating, I think there was more of a fear there between what was going to happen and trying to work things out. But as I moved forward into my process, I then realized here I am. It's me and my four children. And yes, he is around, but he's not here every day to help me with the everyday decisions. And for that, that is a very scary thought. How am I going to do things by myself? Or, what if something happens and how am I going to handle it? And just not being used to making decisions on my own. That was a very scary thought to have to make full decisions and just be by myself and have to make them. So it was definitely very fearful in the beginning.
You shared that during your journey, you discovered you were indeed a strong woman. Was that strength something you found gradually, or was there a specific moment, a crisis, triumph, or quiet realization where you knew you were going to be okay?
Yeah, definitely going through the process, I wasn't sure how strong of a person I was. You know, um, I think you know how strong you are till you get hit with something that is so out of your control. You just realize I don't know if I can handle everything, and maybe I'm not as strong as I thought. But again, as I started to go through and I got past being so angry and started to think about what my new life was going to look like, I realized at that point I did need to be a strong person. I need to be strong for my kids. I need to be strong for my family, and be able to make decisions and be able to raise them and do it the right way. So it really was. I'm not going to say it was a moment of realization, but you do come to a point where when you're getting past the realization that this is really happening and we're not going back and we're not going to be together, I have no choice. I mean, it was my choice. I now have to become a strong person and see what's ahead of me and start to think about what my new life is going to look like and what do I want my new life to look like. And for that, I just became a strong person. And I taught my daughters how to be strong and showed them how to be strong and just took over the leadership role and did what I had to do.
Congratulations, Miss Lisa. You did it. You did it. You spent over 40 years as a registered respiratory therapist, working
Mhm.
with patients and families facing end of life issues. How did you witnessing so much loss and grief in your personal life prepare you, or not to prepare you for the
Mhm.
personal grief of your own divorce?
I don't think anything prepared me for that. We were just everything was great. We were moving along, life was great, and then just one day it changed, and it can happen with anything. I watched it for over 40 years with the people and the families that I worked with as a respiratory therapist. I would watch families. One day they were perfectly fine. The next day their family member was in the hospital with either a respiratory disease or possibly from an accident, and their whole life was about to change. And I think we just don't think it will happen to us, you know. But taking all of that I've learned, and being able to help others was helping me be able to get through my grief and get through my my hurt and my anger. um, Again, as I didn't think it was something that was going to happen to me, but when it did, there was a lot of shock, a lot of anger, and yeah, and then just learning how to become myself again and move on.
Move on and let it go, people. You wrote this book to help others, isn't it, Miss Lisa? But what did the process of writing teach you? Was there something you understood about your own journey only when you saw it reflected back in words on page?
Yeah, I think a lot of it did come back when I was reflecting back and writing. One of the things I always talk to my clients about is trying to journal. I did do a lot of journaling through my process of my divorce, but again, as I moved on in life and I became a grief educator, I just started to think back to my own journey and how it really was a grief process that I had gone through. And at the time, not realizing that that's what I was going through. Um, so, so writing my book really helped me know that I'm hoping I can help others realize that what they're going through when they're at the end of a relationship is a grief process, and it can take as long as it needs to take, and you just don't do it wrong. There's just no right way to do it, and you have to work through each of the steps, and hopefully, by writing my book and talking about what I went through, I'm hoping I'm going to be able to help others through their journey. I think you're muted.
Yes, thank you, Miss Lisa. So you emphasizes that grief is not just about death. It
Hmm.
comes from a divorce, job loss, or moving any significant life change. Why is it important to expand our understanding of grief? What gets missed when we only associated grief with death?
Yeah, that's part of what I'm doing now with the education process is trying to make people more educated on what grief is. People don't realize even in the world today, it is a very crazy world, and there's so many people in grief today that don't realize they're in grief because we don't understand it. It's not something we were taught. It's not something that was talked about when you were growing up. But I do think people really need to be educated on it because grief is not just from the death of somebody, it is from a loss, and that is any type of loss. Could be the loss of a child, could be the loss of a limb, could be the loss of a friend, of a home, of your relationship. There's just so many losses that we face. And you need to take your time to go through that grieving process, to help yourself get healthy again and to help yourself heal. You know, again, it's okay to be in that process for as long as it takes, but it's important that you do go through the process and you do take your time and try to try to just process little things that are happening to you and try to move forward. We can't always. Some people will say you can't move on, but you can move forward, and you can take on what your new life is going to look like, no matter how challenging it might be.
Yes, people enjoy the process. You talk about the stage of grief,
Hmm.
denial, anger, and bargaining, as well as depression and acceptance. But
Hmm.
you emphasize they are not linear. You can climb the ladder and slide back. When you
Hmm.
experience those backslides in your own journey, what did you learn about self compassion in those moments?
Yeah, so you know, I've been divorced for 18 years and I still slide back. You know, there's still times that and I'm pretty friendly with my ex right now. We have a very good relationship, and you know, thank God with our children. But there sometimes there's things that my kids are doing with him, and I think about sometimes, that should have been my life, you know, and you have those moments where you slide back, and it's perfectly fine to be able to do that. So let your emotions do what they need to do. People will tell you, oh, you know, you need to forget that or you need to forget this, but there's been memories that have evolved over the years. There's been times that you've spent together, good and bad, and there's going to be times even in the future that you're going to still slide down that ladder. And most of the time when you slide back, it's sliding into some anger, just anger over maybe something that's happened or something that's triggered you. But you know, you just have to learn to take it, accept it, and just know that it's okay that you're feeling that way today and have your day. And when you wake up tomorrow, it'll be another day.
Definitely. You've stated clearly that there is no wrong way or set timeline to grief. Some
Hmm.
people grieve intensely for a lifetime, and that's okay. In a culture that constantly asks, are you over it yet? Or how do you hold on to the truth for yourself and help others hold on to?
Yeah, one of the things I like to educate on is trying to help people um, talk to others that are in grief, because I think that's one of the things society does not understand. I think you made a good point. People are always saying, "Get over it," or "You should be past it by now," or, you know, "Move on, go back to work, do this." But for some people, it would take a whole lifetime for them to process, and it's okay. So I try to tell people, if your friend or your loved one is having a bad day, let them have a bad day. You know, maybe have a cup of coffee with them and let them talk and just let them grieve out the day that they're having and let them know that it's okay for them to feel that way. Every day is not going to be perfect. Every day you're not going to be happy, you know, but it's okay. And not to ever tell people, you know, you should be over it, or don't tell people that, um, you know, you're going to be okay in a week or it's going to pass, because we don't know how long it's going to take that person. You know, you could have two family members grieving the same person, and both family members are going to grieve completely different. You know, they might not even grieve the same amount of time. And just have to be a little sympathetic and understand that it's okay. And if someone's having a bad day, let them have it. Just be there to listen to them and let them say what they have to say.
Yes, people, it's okay not to be okay. Your podcast interview beautifully articulated that healing means integrating grief, not getting
Hmm.
over it. Can you
Right.
explain that distinction? What does the integration look like in a daily lives versus the myth of closure we're sold?
Right. So I think everybody's life is going to look differently. Again, you're going to have people that are going to grieve for a short time. You're going to have people that are going to grieve for a long time. For some people, integrating real life into their grieving process is going to be literally stepping on the floor the next morning and being able to get out of bed. For some people, it's going to be being able to maybe go to a party by themselves without their loved one, or maybe go to a class by themselves. So I think the way you integrate is just going to be different for every person, and it depends what kind of life you had before. One of the things I tried to find for myself when I went through kind of the refinding myself phase, I went back to doing some of the things I liked to do before I was married. You know, I became married, and a lot of hobbies I had went by the wayside because I was very busy. I was raising my children, and I don't regret a minute of it, and that was my life. But now I was by myself and I needed to find something to take up some of that time. So I was able to integrate some things I liked to do in the past and found some new friends, and you know, started to go out again. So I think everybody's integration will look different. But I feel like if you're stuck, you just need to find someone to talk to and to help you, maybe just give you some coping mechanisms to help you get through whatever part you're stuck at.
You and your ex husband maintain a friendship and continue to support each other to
Hmm.
this day. You even attended his wedding years later. For someone listening who is in the 3 years of divorce, that can
Hmm.
imagine the day when they'll be in the same room without pain, what would you say? How did
Right.
you get from there?
So it wasn't easy, and I do explain that in my book. And it is not for everyone because I do understand that not everybody is going to get past it. But I'm going to be honest with you, for my self peace and for my inner peace and wanting to move on, I felt it was the best way. I needed to accept that part of the reason he left was my fault, which a lot of people don't ever get to that acceptance stage because they don't want to take responsibility. But I was able to take responsibility because what happened happened, and I was part of the reason. So, for the sake of my children, for the sake that moving on, I didn't want my children to be raised in a very angry life. I didn't want them to see people fighting all the time. I didn't want them to think that that was normal. For me, it was a decision and a choice I made, that I decided I wanted to try to be happier for my kids. And I just felt that this was a better way. And it didn't come right away. I mean, please, people who are listening, I didn't separate, get divorced, and oh my God, we were best friends. It wasn't that easy, but it did take a couple years. But once I was able to accept, what had happened, it made it a little bit easier. And for those even just looking for some inner peace, your partner who has left is living their life now, and they might be very happy. So why shouldn't you give yourself a chance to be happy? You get one shot in this lifetime. And how do you want to spend it? Do you want to spend it angry, or do you want to spend it maybe enjoying yourself and moving on and trying to find out what your new life is going to look like?
Moving on, yes. You talk about co parenting with
Mhm.
grace. What were the specific practices or mindset that allowed you prioritize your children
Mhm.
well-being above your own pain on those co-parenting moments?
Right. So in the beginning, and I mentioned this in my book, when my husband first left me, one of the first things that went through my mind was, "You're never going to see these children again. You're leaving us. You're breaking up this family. You don't deserve to have any time with them." Again, as I realized later, he wasn't leaving his children, he was leaving me. And I needed to accept that. And I needed to accept the help. For those of you out there that are trying to do this on your own, if there is another parent that's involved, they should be helping out. And my children always knew that they could never play sides because we would be able to speak to each other. And, if they were asking for something, it was like, well, dad said I could, or mom said I could. No, that wasn't going to happen. We weren't going to play that game. And when it came down to like disciplining and tough disciplining, if someone snuck out of the house or if someone was doing something, I called him and he was going to come over and we would both sit and talk to our children. They knew that we weren't together, but we were always going to be on the same page when it came to our children. And I think that really helped also with our children and their relationship.
Mm. Very well said, Miss Lisa. Attending your ex husband's wedding is a powerful image of healing. Congratulations. What is going through your mind and heart that day? Was there a moment when you knew you were ready, or did you just decide to show up and trust yourself?
Yeah, probably the latter. He actually called and he called me and he said, "I wanted to invite you. I'm married now. I want to invite you and, Jerry, to our wedding." And I was like, "No, no, that would be kind of crazy." I'm like, "The kids might not be comfortable." And he said to me, "I've already asked the kids." And basically their answer was, "You know what? We're this crazy now. What would it matter if mom came?"
Mm,
So I thought about it for a little while and I thought, you know what? Why not? I mean, it'll be a fun day. And we went and we really had a great time. And I got to see people I hadn't seen in a long time that were so happy to see me. It was great. We really had a good time. And I can tell you honestly, him and I danced at the end of the night. My kids were snapping pictures. It was crazy. It was
Hmm.
crazy. And I know we're a little nutty family, but for us, it works.
Hmm.
And again,
Let it go.
you know,
Yes.
yeah,
Let
it
it go.
works. And why not be happy? He's happy
Definitely. Life
now.
life is too short. So be
Mhm.
happy.
Be
You've been
happy.
married. Yes, you've been married to your husband's Jerry since 2011 and you have a
Mhm.
blended family. What wisdom have you gained about bringing two families together and loss and separation? What surprised you about that process?
Ooh, that was a hard process. And my my children were pretty good with him after a little while. When we decided to get married, my oldest one had a tough time because I think she realized that was the finality of her father and I, um,
Mm,
being ever having a chance of being together again. But my kids love my dad, my husband. Um, his children were a little bit more difficult, but they were much older. They were already had children, and they were more established in their lives. So they had a little bit more of a difficult time accepting and blending. But we did the best we could, and we've got grandchildren. I've got grandchildren on his side. I've got grandchildren on my side, and they're all just our grandchildren. We call his children my children. They're our children, our bonus children. There is no step. We don't say step brothers, step sisters. We just taught them all to just be accepting of each other, and this is the way it's going to be, and we have to do our best to pull it together and make it a nice situation for everyone.
your book subtitle emphasizes keeping the family bond strong. What does the
Mhm.
family bond mean to you now after the divorce and remarriage? Has your definition of family changed?
Well, family is definitely not necessarily blood. Family is anybody who is together and loves each other. I've got a huge family now, and we've got lots of grandchildren. And I even consider my ex husband's new wife. I mean, I love her to death. She's a great lady. So she's
Mm-hmm.
family. She's part of the family. I'm still good friends with some of my in-laws, ex-in-laws, which I don't even want to say ex. We all still socialize. So family is just really what I don't even know the word, but it doesn't have to be blood. It's just family now is just the people who are around me and love me and accept our situation. And for that, we're family. And if you don't like the way we are, we lost some friends along the way. Some people thought we were crazy for some of the things. If you read my book, some of the situations that are in there, some of them people are going to be like, "Wow, you're nuts." But I always just try to keep the peace. It's just the way I am. And just keeping the family strong, I thought was very important, like I said before, for my children to have a
Mm.
just have that caring life around them. I just didn't want them to live in an angry world.
Definitely be happy because life is too short, people, and seize your day. So, to wrap up our discussion for today, Miss Lisa, after writing the book, after the podcast appearances,
Mhm.
after becoming a certified grief educator, what question about grief, divorce, or healing are you still living into? And what don't you yet know about the journey you're on?
What I don't know about the journey is on is how much longer I'm going to be here and how much more I can teach others. My goal now is to help and teach others about grief, and hopefully, just educate, and just show people the way it can be, and hopefully help them find some inner peace.
Mm. Yes. Wow. Interesting, empowering answer, Miss Lisa. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book, your advocacy, or whatever project that you're doing right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm getting ready to start my second book, and it's going to be focused on veterans and grief situations that veterans have had. So if you're a veteran listening, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to hear your story. So I'll be making up. I'll be doing a book about different stories with different veterans.
Looking forward for that, Miss Lisa, and good luck, more success, and please do come over to Abstract Essay or on Book One on Review, and let's talk about it. So, Miss Lisa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. It was nice being here.
Emoticon people, see you soon.